Mercenary Kings!
While playing through Mercenary Kings, I can't help but think of some of my favorite games. There's aspects from nearly all of the classics in here somewhere, from the running and gunning of Mega Man to the frantic multiplayer action of Metal Slug. Even the reload mechanic is ripped straight out of Gears of War. Fortunately for Mercenary Kings, most of these elements mesh together in a way that results in a fun experience rather than a cheap imitation. Mercenary Kings, developed by Tribute Games, feels like, well, a tribute or an homage to some of the best games from the 90s. You play as a member of the Kings, an elite group of soldiers who are brought back to life by a magical formula harvested from a tropical island. Unfortunately, there's this terrorist group on the island causing havoc and just generally being evil, so it's your job to stop them. Let's be honest here, the story merely serves as a backdrop to place you in some interesting situations and areas. There are some entertaining dialogue exchanges at some points, such as the talking helicopter, but for the most part the story is unimportant. Mercenary Kings is strikingly similar to the Metal Slug games. You are a lone soldier, in single player at least, and in front of you are hordes of faceless enemies. You'll be wandering around a decently large map, blasting all sorts of enemies, rescuing hostages, and fulfilling objectives. While the core mechanics might be similar to Metal Slug, Mercenary Kings is by no means identical. For example, Mercenary Kings has missions which place you in very large, open areas with little guidance. There are a variety of objectives to complete as well, from kill X of this enemy, to destroy barricade, to rescue the hostages. Needless to say, you'll have plenty of goals. There are also optional objectives, as well as secret objectives that you'll have to discover on your own. In return for completing the goals and killing enemies, you'll be rewarded with materials that you could use to make different items. Along with the open-ended levels, there's also a time limit. This really kind of kills the point in exploring each map, but many levels are nearly identical, so there's not really a huge point in exploring. I can totally understand why the timer was added. It adds a sense of urgency to each mission, and helps move the player along without wasting their time. There are some missions that are hampered by the time limit, but for the most part, it is a useful game mechanic. It also records your fastest time for each mission, so it's good for speedrunners. In Mercenary Kings, you are only as strong as your gun. Luckily for you, you can craft each piece of your gun to change the overall feel and look of your weapon. Want a shotgun with the range of a sniper rifle? You can do that. How about an SMG with the clip size of a minigun that also shoots corrosive bullets? The possibilities really do feel limitless, and there are hundreds of different items to craft. That's not even getting into the different player upgrades, knives, or armors. Fortunately for Mercenary Kings, the controls are tight and responsive enough to feel as though any deaths that you incur are your fault rather than the game cutting corners. Depending on the weight of your weapon, your speed and jump height will vary, meaning that there's a constant give and take between raw damage and mobility. Although with heavier automatic weapons, it is possible to use the recoil as a pseudo glider, which is awesome. The only problem with the controls is that it's impossible to shoot diagonally. This is irritating to no end because you'll constantly see enemies shooting diagonally at you, but you can't really do anything to fight back unless you get onto their level or shoot them from underneath. There are ways to shoot slightly above or below you, but these are basically just from the gun's accuracy or ammo type, and they could only help so much. If you know me or you read or watched any of my previous reviews, you'll know that I'm not really one to bash a game for having a lot of content. I prefer to get my money's worth out of games, and it really just irks me when games don't even have a dozen hours of playtime before I've seen everything. Well, Mercenary Kings does not have that problem, I can assure you. There is so much content here that I don't know what to do with it all, and it could easily last someone dozens of hours if you want to find all the trophies or craft every item. The problem I have with this, in regards to Mercenary Kings, is that the gameplay starts to become mature as you progress through the missions. There are over 100 missions in the game, and some of them take up to 25 minutes to finish. Simply put, it's exhausting and it can get repetitive. Not to mention, some missions use the same map, so you're trudging through the same areas to kill the same enemies that you've killed countless times before. This is why I can only play a few missions at a time whenever I start playing. I have no doubt that I'll eventually finish them all, but I don't have the willpower to play Mercenary Kings for more than an hour or two at a time. Mercenary Kings is an homage to classic gaming conventions, remodeled for the 21st century. It takes elements from Metal Slug, Mega Man, and other arcade classics to deliver a lasting experience that fans of shoot-'em-ups will adore. While the lack of diagonal shooting and eventual repetitiveness are unfortunate, the overall package is a finely crafted labor of love from Tribute. I highly recommend you pick up Mercenary Kings on the PC or PlayStation 4. Thanks for watching our video review of Mercenary Kings. If you have a PlayStation 4, make sure you pick it up, as it is free until May on PlayStation Plus. Also, make sure you subscribe to us so you can see our other videos, and also check out the written review for Mercenary Kings over on JumpToGamer.com for expanded thoughts on the game.